We're starting with the future of the 49ers and Brock Purdy. Dieter Kurtenbach writing in the Mercury News that the rest of the season is a referendum on your guy Purdy, bro. The money is ready, but the contract hasn't been drawn up just yet. And it's more than fair to say that Purdy's arrow, perhaps for the first time in his short NFL career, is pointing down. It's on him in the final 5 games to flip it, make paying him a no-brainer decision for everybody. Now, there has been a significant statistical slide.
Oh,
he was #1 in pretty much everything, and now he's kind of all over the map. Several of these on the bottom half. So, Brew, would it be unfair to judge Purdy off this season?
Well, first of all, since we're quoting Dieter Kurtenbach, who I know Nick wants to get to somehow.
Brew loves him.
Like he's a sage.
Brew loves him.
Well, when he's right, I quote. I'm not going to rip you.
Okay.
No, the article also said the money's there.
Yeah.
That the front office has committed.
Oh, they planned for it.
Yeah, that they, and same as Albert Breer saying the same thing, they have the money set aside, I guess $60 million a year, somewhere around there. It also said this. I just want to set the record straight. This is what Dieter wrote. The 24-year-old quarterback might be having a down year, but he's still a hell of a player. His scrambling ability is a critical reason why the Niners have not yet been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. The All-22 is far more forgiving than the zoomed-in broadcast.
Trust me, that. Me and Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I watched the All-22.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not like just, reading the box scores like some people.
I hear you.
No, but my point is that I really wanted to paint the article.
Yeah, no, the article
it's
was
not
not
like
a
he's
cutting
ripping
article.
Right,
the article was not a cutting article.
So I just wanted to, because the title can show that. To answer your question, it's absolutely fair. Anytime you put tape on, game film, or put something on tape, it's fair to judge. What I would say, though, is judge fairly. Judge fairly. Don't be biased, judge fairly. And when you judge fairly, you have to say, well, his defense has gone from 3rd best in the league as far as scoring to 24th. Nick Sorensen, the DC, is under fire because they haven't done well.
Thing, is weird because they have the 5th yardage defense and
but
11th in forcing turnovers, but 24th scoring. So, those numbers, usually are not that far misaligned.
But you can watch. I mean,
they're not the same defense they were
last
year.
Take that into account. The injuries offensively as well. I mean, defensively, they missed a lot of guys, but offensively as well. His 2 top weapons from last year were McCaffrey and Ayuk. They're gone.
Yeah.
Debo
hasn't been the same.
No, Debo's a one-time Pro Bowler. And I thought he was the best football player in the league a few years ago. He's only made 1 Pro Bowl in his whole career, and that was before Purdy was on the team. All right, so I'm just saying, you really have Kittle, who's, I think, still at a high level. Some people think he's down, but that's your only guy. So I just consider that, because we've even seen the greatest that I've seen, Mahomes, not put up the numbers that we're used to seeing from him when he only has Kelsey, who's still great.
Well, he won an MVP like that in 2022.
But he had
just Kelsey.
Okay, and he's Mahomes too.
Yeah.
But the last 2 years, we've seen him play pedestrian. So take that into account, and all these injuries. This graphic right here shows they've lost the 2nd most games by starters to injury in the league. And all the other teams on there, essentially, except the Texans, are struggling.
Yeah.
Now, the Colts might make the playoffs, but still, they're right. And so the injuries are huge. And yet, Brock Purdy still, and I said it yesterday, but it's worth repeating, passer rating-wise, he's better passer rating than all those guys. Matthew Stafford, Patrick Mahomes, Cousins, Geno Smith, C.J. Stroud. I threw Caleb on there, Nick, because you said he was a top 6 quarterback when he was still in college.
Yeah.
Dak, Trevor, because he's your guy. So I'm just saying, we can judge him, and we can say Purdy has not been what he was the last 2 years or year and a half, but judge it fairly. When you take everything in context, I think you have to say, he's still what I've always felt, in last year that he's been a tier 2 quarterback. If you thought he was tier 1, you're disappointed. If you thought he was tier 2 like I do, then this is what he is.
All right, so I think it is far more fair and far more instructive for the Niners to judge Brock Purdy off this season than last season when you're projecting forward. Last season, Brock Purdy had an all-world running back Most quarterbacks will go their whole career and not have their running back have the season Christian McCaffrey had. And if they're lucky, it maybe happens once or twice, if you're lucky. He had last season a great wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk playing at a great level. And last season, Debo was good. Debo might not have been a Pro Bowler last year. He was good last year and had an all-pro tight end. He had the second most Pro Bowlers on the Niners last year of any team in the league. This year, what he has is what was a weakness last year, the offensive line. Brew kept throwing this stat up last year. I don't know how much he likes it this year. According to PFF, the league's 12th best offensive line, so an above-average offensive line. I would say average skill position players on offense. Great tight end, fine wide receivers, fine running backs, right around league average. It is more like the type of team you are going to typically have around you in this league, particularly when the quarterback is highly paid, which is why I think it would be doing your franchise a disservice if you're the Niners, if you are not quietly having meetings of, all right, guys, if this season, if 5-7 turns into 6-11, which it very well could given their schedule and their injuries.
Yep, with injury season.
Once upon a time, we made a Super Bowl, lost to the Chiefs, and then won 6 games the next year. And then they did something that was drastic, traded 3 first-round picks for the wrong quarterback.
Right.
They just lost a Super Bowl to the Chiefs. They have another 6-win season, and they have their own top 10 pick where you don't have to trade anything. And the quarterback on your roster is like, hey, 60-ish million, say he doesn't even say 60. Say he says, you're not paying me less than Trevor Lawrence. Make an argument as to why you're paying me less. You're not paying me less than Trevor Lawrence at 55. Right, it would be by his agent. That's what his agent should be doing. And by the way, you have the benefit of you could get a first-round pick for Brock Purdy. You would.
From who?
I have to see how the draft falls and who drafts, but I would in a world where Darnold went for a 2, a 4, and a 6, Jets to Panthers, Brock Purdy on $1 million a year.
Who needs a quarterback willing to give a first?
If Russ signs somewhere and Pittsburgh leaves, I don't know, but that's something you would certainly get something for him.
Sure.
And because you haven't paid him, you would have no dead cap, none of it. I think that we are much more likely to see this Brock Purdy moving forward. And Brock Purdy's last 16 games, he's not a bad player. But he's not a guy, if that is, take record out of it, if that's who he is, it is crippling to pay that player $55 million. That's Trevor. At 50,
well,
again.
He's been better than Trevor.
No, I understand. No, but I'm saying those numbers, like a lot of it, that's like basically and I think Trevor's going to be better, but right now that's a terrible contract for the Jags. And so the Niners have shown, and everybody, I think, sees the Trey Lance thing as such a disaster of a pick. They missed that Kyle Shanahan said, man, what would this offense be like with a true dual-threat quarterback? Who are the quarterbacks that we think are going to be top 10 guys? Shador's probably going to go super high. But Milroe, some people think, we talked about this, Cam, whomever, I just think it is going to be a part of the Niners offseason discussions. If this continues, do we reset the quarterback clock without having to mortgage draft capital? Because the other thing is the offense is getting old. Trent Williams is very old. George Kittle for the position is old. Debo we think they're going to potentially cut or trade because CMC, you don't know.
But so he's old for a running back.
Of course, and he's coming. So it does having a $60 million quarterback that you're maybe not 100% sure is a force multiplier makes sense if you're kind of rebooting the offense. That's the point I'm making.
And look, you can say these were the wrong decisions, but Trevor, Dak, these are Jalen Hurts even. We saw him last year struggle, and now he's got this super stacked offense, and it's different. Guys on that tier 2, like Purdy, they need weapons around him. Now, they paid Garoppolo. Remember when they first paid him, he was the highest paid player in history. And they still were able to build an Avenger group around him. So it can be done.
They drafted incredibly well. And they didn't, you know what I mean? Like you draft Kittle, you draft Ayuk, you draft Debo. Those guys are then cheap. You got to I don't see those guys as like, oh, wow, Pearsall's the next one, or Isaac Guerrero is the next one. Yeah, maybe. And so I just think it is. I think the Niners drafting a quarterback is absolutely on the board if they end up with a top 10 pick.
I mean, that would be such a screw up. That would be.
What's the screw up?
Which one?
To be like so then you're going to have two you're going to have two quarterbacks, or the idea that you're going to stash the drafted quarterback and still.
Well, I mean, you have Brock Purdy
for
you have him for $1 million bucks.
Basically, if they don't pay,
you have him for $1 million bucks.
Purdy,
I mean, I think the biggest mistake would be paying Purdy this offseason, because you can just make him wait. There's nothing.
Purdy. I'm not down with that. I'm not down with that at all.
Uncomfortable.
I've started for you for 2.5 years, and you're going to pay me, I think, $1.19 million. It's just, it's still a lot of money in the real world.
No, but it's nothing for that.
But it's come on, man. My peers are making 60 times more than me. Is that really fair? That I have to go out here now? I don't know if you hold out, or I don't know what.
See, that's the thing is quarterbacks really don't hold out. It's a weird spot.
They don't hold out because it's usually the team does right by them, though, right?
Typically, but I mean, Dak played under the franchise tag. Kirk Cousins did it twice. To me, those are fair comps.
I know, but
mid-round picks that like Dak had a 13-3. Yeah, twice in Washington. That's why he had to leave.
I think it's easier to do it once you have a $100 million nest egg.
But those guys didn't.
Well, Dak did the first time, no?
No, Dak. That's how he got the $100 million nest egg. Was made him play it out.
Yeah. I'm not doing it.
Okay.
I'm also not in that position. Chiefs host the Chargers Sunday night. Mahomes sat down with friend of the show, Carrington Harrison, on 96.5 The Fan, and offered this explanation on why the offense is not high-flying. Okay. Are you buying the idea that Kansas City's offense will eventually turn it around?
1,000%. And it's not even because of what Patrick's specifically talking about. It's a different play from the Raider game. Because the reason the Raiders had the chance to win at the end was because the Chiefs, after the Raiders missed the field goal with 3 minutes left, the Chiefs went 3 and out. Mm-hmm. So I want to take you to the only pass Patrick threw on that possession, 3rd and 2.
Not happy about that.
And to Xavier Worthy. Yeah. And the question I would ask to you, the audience, anyone, does anyone really think that Andy Reid, Patrick, and the Chiefs felt like in that moment, you know the very best way for us to get 2 yards?
I thought it was an insane play.
Correct.
Everybody
did.
I'm watching this.
I then will remind you of one of the biggest plays of the Chiefs season last year. The only critical offensive play of the entire second half of the AFC title game. Now this one you had to throw because it's 3rd and 9. Those are, if we play them alongside each other, incredibly similar. There's not play action on one, but similar route. And by the way, the guy who caught it, MVS, is gone, and Xavier's playing his spot. So, when I say the Chiefs are playing a slightly different game, the point I am making is this. Do I think that in the playoffs in that spot, they are running something different on 3rd and 2? Maybe running the ball and then figuring it out. Maybe getting Patrick out on the edge. Things they know, finding Kelsey, finding Hopkins. Things they know work. I do. Do I think that the Chiefs in that spot are like, this is something we need. We need Xavier to be able to do. We need the pressure of a moment. We need some actual learned history of it. Let's call it here. Or Andy was just dumb for a minute because it was an absurd call for that situation. So when I say they of course wanted to complete it. They don't want to be in a position where you could lose the game. But they are practicing and working on things that they know they need to work on with the young receiver, stuff like that. And so that's why I'm confident of it, because I don't think they're running the plays that they know work right now, because they're trying to add to the collection of plays that they know work that they don't have fully built out yet.
I buy that they will be capable of making big plays in big moments. When the playoffs come around and they need to make something happen, I believe Mahomes will be able to, capable of doing that. I don't believe it's going to, the question was really click. I don't believe it's going to all of a sudden look different than it had, much different than it has all season, because for the essentially 2 seasons, this is how it's been. Their offense is doing just what they need to do to win. Like last year, we know they weren't great in the regular season offensively. Mm-hmm. But in the playoffs, they blew out Miami. Yeah. It was cold. We knew that was coming. Buffalo scores 27 or 24, so the Chiefs scored 27. The Ravens scored 10, so the Chiefs scored 17. The Niners scored 22, so the Chiefs scored 25. Like, I fully believe in their capability with Mahomes to do what they have to do in the moment. But going out there and looking like vintage Mahomes, I don't know if we're going to see that as much as I love him until they get like a top flight receiver in his prime. Because we haven't seen it now for almost 2 seasons.
So the other argument for it, though, is of maybe not vintage, but much better is Kareem Hunt did a great job coming off the street.
Yeah.
He also has 162 carries this year. How many do you think have gone for 20 or more? Explosive plays.
1, I believe 1.
The answer is 0. 0. He has an explosive reception. 1 explosive reception, 0. There's 23 backs in the league who've carried it 150 plus times. He's the only one. Even your guy Ramondre has 2 of them. Isaiah Pacheco in his first game back had 1. So Kareem's been good, but now he can be more of the hammer, and Pacheco can add some burst. Hollywood Brown will be back in 2 weeks, and Xavier Worthy is getting better. There's no denying that he and Mahomes' connection is getting better over the course of the season, even if it's not lockstep. So they just will be better by virtue of who's playing as well, and they get better in the bigger moments. So it's just... Oh, and I didn't even mention it. The left tackle position has been the worst in the league, and DJ Humphries for the last 4 years has been dead league average. So if they just get average left tackle play, that's a massive upgrade.
The thing, I'll buy the theory. Let's just enter into this part of the conversation, assuming you're 100% correct. And that's Andy Reid's plan. We gotta give Xavier a shot deep on 3rd and 2, which is a weird time to practice that. But I'll say he's smarter than all of us. If the Chiefs end up losing that game, which they very well could have, isn't the sting of losing that game hurt more than the value of practicing a bomb on 3rd and 2?
I don't know, because the I guess counterfactual to that was the sting of losing the Eagles game when you threw that exact pass to MVS and he dropped it, when he had been dropping passes all year, more painful than continuing to go to him and then having it pay off in the playoffs. Again, we're operating, I understand, in a bunch of hypotheticals, but I think that they are taking calculated risks to give themselves the best chance of doing something no one's done, recognizing we are really trying to thread a needle of keeping the 1 seed, staying in the best position, and getting this stuff done. But I think they are more comfortable saying, if we fall to the 2, but we have got all this stuff ironed out, rather than be the flimsy 1 seed that you guys, not that you guys, but that people have compared them to, the teams. And so and it's why I reject here are the other teams with these great records who weren't real. Those teams would have been real with this coach and this quarterback. And so, yes, a lot of it is that this coach and quarterback have earned the benefit of the doubt, particularly when that was an absurd play call. It was in the moment we all thought it.
I tweeted at it, and you were at practice, and I'm like, I buy first play of the game. They run something clever that we showed, the little trick play. I buy first play of the half. If Kelsey's been quiet, get him a target right away. 2-minute drill against your rival.
How else do you simulate a high leverage, gotta have it moment?
I don't know.
Unless it is a high leverage, gotta have it moment.
But at the same time, then it's not. Here's the thing that kind of is screwing me up. It's actually not a high leverage moment. If you don't actually care, if everyone on the team knows,
it is for Xavier.
I don't know.
I think Andy is probably I think Andy and Patrick might be playing a slightly different game than the other guys. I do think that.
Okay. This is also possible that you feel we catch them off guard. If we lose the game, we're fine. I mean, you now you don't have the 1 seed, but we're fine. But you're trying, you catch somebody off guard, and because they could have caught him off guard.
Yeah, and by the way, the play was there.
Yeah.
And if Patrick's throws better, the protection's better, it works. So it's not like they were giving it up.
Nobody expects this.
Right. And so
Let's do it. If we lose,
my final thing, like they were doing when they were doing practice on the snow globe stuff against the Raiders. Fun stuff, blasting teams. Here's a play. Let's dance around in a merry-go-round and give the ball. That I buy. If it doesn't work, it is going to be one of the worst strategies of all time.
What do you mean?
To treat the regular season so flippantly.
Well, they're 11-1. I mean, I don't think they're treating.
But you've said the whole season they're practicing.
Yes, but right now it certainly has not hurt them at all. And so what we can't do, what I don't think it will be fair to do, is be like, if they don't win the Super Bowl, the regular season, if they go 15-2, was a failure. Like I don't think that will make sense.
If your theory is right, it is.
Well,
if you think they came out here practice, I don't buy your theory. I'm just saying. But if they came, I buy portions. They, like you said, they know if we lose a game here or there, we'll be good. But let's work on some stuff. I agree. Playoff game, they're not throwing that. They're going to get the 2 yards.
Right. They're only throwing it if they have to have it, like the 3rd and 9.
Yeah. So I get that.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.